1, 2, test 1, 2. Good morning, and welcome to Friday the 19th of September's Daily Freak Out. If everything is going to plan, then this is working as it should be and correctly, which is fantastic. But I'm not sure. I'm just testing these things and trying to get them to work, and it's a lot of fun, but you've got to actually do it. I had a bad dream, not last night, but the night before, and it really gets it's. I find it really interesting the way and I want to just angle. I'm going to just angle that way. I don't know. I find it really interesting the way our brains work like that, in that we dream about things. And I definitely was having this. I was having this dream where I was working at like a service station, gas station type environment, and the everything was going a bit wrong, and it was a bit crazy, and people were offering to help. Funnily enough, my mother and I think technically like a second auntie or something were there, and they were trying to help, and I kept saying, no, don't help, just don't do anything, blah blah blah. And people kept coming in, and I kept being worried that things were happening and all that kind of stuff. And then I remember the feeling where I just wanted to burn it all to the ground. Effectively, I wanted to just walk away and just shut everything off and disappear. And I realized that because I had a house inspection, because I rent, it was my brain thinking I'm worried about this house inspection, and I could really tell after where I woke up and stuff that that's what it was my worry, and everything was turning itself into a dream where I felt that way. And it wasn't good. It really wasn't. I woke up feeling absolutely terrible, proceeded to then spend a few hours cleaning the house. And when the estate agent, who was perfectly nice, came around, I felt terrible. I really did. And you can I feel like I can look at it in one way and say, well, just keep the house cleaner. But then there's this other side of me that's like, well, it feels like I'm being judged, even when they're nice and they're trying to help. And then it's like, well, why can't real estate agents be a bit nicer and a bit more considerate of the who I think is the customer, i.e., the renter? But then it's like, well, what's their job and anyway, it just got me all confused and all disappointed and worried. And I'm resorting back to an attitude that I've only just recently fully developed, which is push through, ignore yourself, ignore the brain saying this is terrible, this is bad. Just push through. And I'm sure other people have got the same attitude. I'm sure I'm not new on that one. If you're out there and you've got an idea of how you can help, or how you help yourself to get through times when your brain is telling you stuff that's not necessarily true or right or beneficial. Because I remember having a conversation with a friend a long time ago, and she had some serious mental health issues and subsequently succumbed to them. And I remember saying to her, like, I know for a fact that there have been times where my brain and my emotions have not been correct. They've just not been the right thing. The main one is when you're infatuated with someone. And if you've got a brain that, at least to a certain degree, goes down the ADHD side like mine does, you can't help but become infatuated with a thing or a place or an activity. And then sometimes that's a person. And you're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But then you remember, or then you realize, oh wow, they're not that into me. And I'm acting like an absolute fool from their perspective anyway. Hello, Moon Mema. Mema? Would it be Mema or Mema? I don't know. And it really gets me thinking of, how did I go? Oh, bloody hell. There's some good ADHD. Talking about obsession. That's right. And I've had those times where, I really um, realize that my brain is not telling me the correct things. It's not telling me positive things or even things that make me um, do good things and want to do good things. Meme, is that right? Moon Meme, asks, how's my day going? My day's going all right. It's just started and I've played with some technology and I've got it all set up and it's fantastic. If everything's going correct at the moment, I should be streaming on not only Twitch, but also, Twitch to that camera and TikTok to that camera, which makes me as a 42-year-old Mima. There we go, Mima. Anyway, which makes me as a 42-year-old feel very, very young and youthful, but not really at the same time. Um, but yeah, trying to get another one of these out, trying to push through. Like I was saying that my ignoring the brain to a certain degree and just pushing through and realizing that your brain's not always correct and true. And so today I'm doing that same thing today where I'm just pushing through and I'm going to record this little podcast that I want to do instead of going, oh, it's not perfect, it's not right. So this one might not be great, but hopefully in the future they will get better. Um, hey, I will try and have a wonderful day. I've got to work all day, but that's all right. You've got a first date tonight. Feeling a bit insecure. Hey, man, or man or woman, who cares? Doesn't matter. Gender is completely irrelevant in this conversation. Exactly what I'm talking about. Push through that insecurity. Be polite. Be yourself. I'm certainly not one of those people that's like, oh, you should try to be on your best. No, you should be yourself. If you're feeling a bit shit, remember that they obviously don't want to hang out with you if you're feeling a bit shit just straight away. But if you're feeling a bit shit and a bit down, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If you're feeling a bit insecure, that's all right. That's just nerves. You want to try and impress. You want to try and be cool for this person. That being said, though, I am not a good dater. I'm not a good romantic relationship person. So taking advice from me on that kind of stuff is probably not a good idea. I have screwed up many a relationship, many a first date, etc., etc. But in my attitude is be yourself, because eventually you're gonna have to be yourself. Like if you fall in love with these people and then you marry them and then you go on to have a life with them, at some point you've got to be yourself. So why not be yourself to start with? Obviously, wash, shave, dress nice, do that kind of stuff. You want to impress a little bit, but yeah, I don't agree with some people are like, oh, dating's like this performance and that kind of stuff. For me, I've got no time for that. I don't want someone that doesn't want me. So yeah, be yourself. Um, be a good version of yourself. Don't be a bad version of yourself. Be a good version of yourself. Um, and then just be cool. Just like don't stress too much. Try and ask questions. That's one of the things I'm very bad at, asking questions on dates. Ask about them. Try and find out about them. Um, I'm a talker, hence why I'm trying to do these kind of things. And so sometimes in the past, I have just talked, and I've realized afterwards that that was not a good idea. So yeah, that's my advice for people on dates, because although I'm not very good at it. But let's talk about some monkeys. Um, Wild chimpanzees consume the equivalent of 2 cocktails a day in the form of boozy fruit. It's a very long-standing thing that we know that animals consume drugs, as it were, and have experiences where they get high, get drunk, whatever. And it's now been shown, apparently. Can you sing a little? No, not really. I'm not a very good singer. What kind of pick? Give me a song to sing. I am Jeansy. Um, and if I can play it on ukulele, that would be really good too, because I happen to have a ukulele here. Ram Ranch. Don't know what Ram Ranch is. Let's talk about monkeys drinking cocktails, though. Do you want to talk about monkeys drinking cocktails? Anyway, Apparently, these monkeys are um, now easily distracted by different things. Um, Monkeys apparently are going towards fruit that is fermented a little bit, which when they eat a bunch of it gives them a bit of a drunk feeling, similar to a couple of drinks throughout the day. Now, my argument is, and we've seen it or we know about it from um, way back in the day. Apparently, early settlers and all that kind of stuff used to drink beer and wine all the time because it was easier to keep that kind of stuff clean as opposed to water. Um, and they were always drunk, like a little bit drunk. And I am someone who is a little okay with being slightly intoxicated for most of the day. You know those days when you're just at home and you just have a drink straight away, or a whatever you're into, and you just spend the day a little bit buzzed. I really like the mild buzz. I really am a fan these days. I think maybe it's an age thing, but 19, 20, early 20s, mid 20s, yeah, you get blitzed, just go crazy, go high, big, heroic doses of things and stuff. But as I've gotten older, and I'm talking within the last 6 months even, I'm really appreciating just that little light buzz for the day. It feels like it's easier, or not easier. Feels like you can get stuff done, but you're also sort of enjoying life a little bit more. Um, and I wonder if that's a thing of the future or a thing of the past. Wonder if in the future we make life so easy and so good that we don't need to be a little bit buzzed the whole time. Whereas if we were monkeys, chimpanzees, living in the jungle, we would like to eat some fruit and get 2 cocktails down a day. Imagine if you had a cocktail, just stretch that cocktail out, thin that cocktail out a bit, and make it so that you can have that cocktail or drink the cocktail all day and get that little buzz all day. Um, a team of scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, and other institutions tested the fruit chimps actually snacked on, figs in Uganda's canopy, and the plum-like fruits on the forest floor of Cote d'Ivoire. I've heard that pronounced better. Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah. Collecting the data wasn't easy, with little electricity beyond solar panels and constant humidity threatening the instruments. Researchers spent 3 seasons hauling equipment and collaborating test kits to measure alcohol in many different tropical fruits. So you're telling me that was their job was to go into the jungle, camping out, hiking in for an adventure where they were following monkeys around to see what they ate and then doing tests on the food that they ate. That was their job. How do I get a job like that? That sounds like so much fun. As much as I'm definitely what's it called? An introvert, a stay at home kind of guy. I love just sitting on a computer all day with a big pot of coffee. That sounds like a fun job to have when you're in your like 20s or something. Instead of having like a gap year where you just um, go on adventures around the world and go shopping and relaxing by beaches, why not go on an adventure like that? Get a job where you're just hauling equipment for scientists into the jungle. That's my idea of a good gap year. Um, in the end, they found on average the fruit's alcohol content came in at about 0.3%. So the average drink or the standard beer is something like 4%, 4.5%, I think. Scotch and spirits get in that 40% range, I think. Is it? That feels about right. And then wine is like 12%, something like that. So they're drinking a very small amount of alcohol the whole time. And it reminds me of there's a book called Born to Run about a tribe. I think that's the right word. A group in Central America who would run and they would drink this beer that was very low alcohol content. Alcohol content, and they would run for the whole day and drink this beer. And again, the natural, um, what's the word? The natural painkiller as well would allow you to run a bit more and be a bit freer and looser and stuff like that. So maybe low alcohol content is the way to go throughout the entire day, is what I'm saying. I'm just trying to find an excuse to add scotch to my coffee. That's all it is. I actually just recently I had a real thing of like I really want an Irish coffee, so I bought a little scotch and just a very small amount, like half a shot, not even a lot, just for a lot of, for the flavour, and then just that little buzz is what I'm talking about. If we can just be a little bit drunk all day, maybe we'd all be nicer and happier. But maybe not. Um, One of the things I want to do with this little attempt at a live stream style podcast is play records, and in the future, I will have it hooked up so that I can play a record in the middle of the show to promote some kind of independent act. Unfortunately, today that is not the case, and I can't think of off the top of my head what's Anyway, I thought of trying to sing a song, but I'm not going to do that because I don't think my voice is actually that good. Let's talk about one of the big subjects, the big topics that's happening at the moment. So, Jimmy Kimmel got suspended and has had his show taken off air. The headline is FCC Chair Carr says, "We're not done yet," after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension by ABC. So, the really interesting part about this story from my perspective is not whether you like Jimmy Kimmel. I never found Jimmy Kimmel, at least his talk show and stuff, to be that interesting. I liked a few of the band. He used to get some pretty decent bands on the show, which was good. I always like it when good bands or interesting bands get promoted, not just like pop stuff. And his show was never that great for me. The Matt Damon stuff was pretty funny, but apart from that, not really my thing. But the really interesting part about this cancellation is very similar to Stephen Colbert, in that the parent company of these shows is in the process of, or in the case of this one, has just finished a deal where they needed FCC, which I think is whoever it is, but it's the people that say your businesses can buy another business and you try fair trade type stuff, and the parent companies were just about to buy or merge or whatever you want to talk about, make a bigger company, and they needed approval from the government effectively in order to do that. And Jimmy Kimmel didn't say something bad or in bad taste about Charlie Kirk. He said Donald Trump has no sympathy for, or he pointed out the fact that Donald Trump, and if I'd been put the actual effort in, I'd have the clip ready here to play, which I haven't done. But he said that he pointed out that Donald Trump didn't pay any, or didn't, he dismissed a comment. So, wow, this is how professional this show is. A reporter said, "Mr. President, condolences on your friend Charlie Kirk passing away. How are you holding up?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Also, you notice that we're building this big ballroom over here. How good's that?" And he did the standard thing that he's done so many times before, where he just doesn't answer the question. But in this case, it wasn't that he wasn't answering the question. It was a sympathetic question. It was, "Hey man, how you doing? You okay? Your friend died and got shot in a terrible, disgusting way. Are you okay?" And he doesn't have any human emotions. And he goes and starts talking about this ballroom, which is another crock of shit. So he wasn't offending Charlie Kirk, or he wasn't being rude to Charlie Kirk. he was actually effectively making fun of Donald Trump. And so Trump's not happy about it. And so he tells someone who tells someone and says, get him off the air, and then their businesses can merge. And that's terrible. That is really, really terrible. And a lot of people are now pointing that out, especially Americans, because obviously it affects them a little bit more than it affects someone like me. But it's a very interesting situation where under the guise of like, oh, he offended blah blah blah, but he offended the president, no one else. He didn't offend Charlie Kirk. He wasn't rude to Charlie Kirk. In fact, he was actually in a way defending Charlie, or on Charlie Kirk's side, because he was saying, hey mate, this guy just died in a terrible way, and now you're not even paying attention, and you're just focusing on the fact that you're building a ballroom. That's very strange. Imagine going to someone's house and saying, I'm sorry, your best friend passed away. Are you okay? He's like, yeah, not too bad. Hey, we're knocking this wall through, and then we're going to make this whole one big living space. That would be weird. You would be sitting there going, oh, that's sort of weird. But maybe it's a way of coping. It's a coping mechanism. In the case of Trump, I don't really think it is. So it's very, very interesting that these talk show hosts who are comedians, who are making jokes, who were allowed to make terrible jokes in the past, are now not allowed to make these jokes. Even though this government apparently, or this administration apparently, was meant to be all about free speech and the idea that we can talk about things and we can make jokes about things. It's very interesting. Donald Trump seems to be not doing any of the things that he said he would do in terms of like clearing out the swamp and all that kind of stuff. Seems to me like the swamp is even thicker and more swampy than it ever was, and the big government is just getting bigger. For instance, because the tariffs are just like, he says he's earning money with tariffs, and it's like, well, you're just putting it in your back pocket. We all know that. And an ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation journalist questioned him on it, and now apparently the ABC are banned from coming to events. It's very worrying and very telling when you put it all together and stuff like that. But maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist on this side and nothing's going wrong, and the ABC are a terrible group. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that all journalists have the potential to be bad, and you shouldn't trust everybody. You should always question, but I don't think the ABC is terrible, especially in this situation. That's all the news topics that I've got, because I didn't put too much effort into putting them together. I'm hoping to get something done for the Bobby Freakout Hour this weekend, if anyone's interested. I'm sure you're probably not, but that's okay. If you've got comments, please send them along. Put them in the comments anywhere. If you think I should do something different or better, that would be good. Maybe I should not have on the TikTok. Maybe I was thinking the other day, should I get a bikini and do some of these things in a bikini? Because I've got boobs at the moment, and I don't like those boobs. But maybe I should. Is that going to get me more viewers? I hope that clip doesn't get clipped. That looked terrible. Anyway, this has been the Daily Freakout. Yet another average, unprepared, slightly not the best episode. But maybe that's just my own pessimism and lack of self-confidence. Maybe somebody out there really enjoyed it and thought it was fantastic. I don't think that's the case. So hopefully in the future these will get better. I think they will. I think they're already getting better. And we can all have fun listening to them together. Oh my God. Anyway, enjoy your weekend, folks. This has been the Daily Freakout for Friday the 19th of September 2025. Have a good weekend. See you again on Monday for hopefully a just as enjoyable, if not more enjoyable, episode of the Daily Freakout. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Bye. Nope. That one.